Long time no see. Welcome to this year's episode of the Uncovery podcast. My name is Maddie, and in case you don't remember me because it's been that long, or you're new to the podcast, welcome. There's quite a difference in what my life is since the last time that I recorded. So today I think I'll probably just give a little bit of a life update. Also, we'll just kind of retrain myself on how to speak and look at a camera and talk to a microphone at the same time, because even setting it up was like relearning how to ride a bike. But I'm very excited to be doing it. I've been thinking about getting back on it for a while. And I'm at a place where I feel like there's some time and there actually isn't that much time. There's not that much flexibility really in time, but I'm at least in the location now where I was podcasting before, where all of my equipment is. And so I feel logistically at least prepared to do it. If not time-wise ready to do it. So we're going to give this a go. We're going to see how it goes, what we might want the podcast to look like going forward, and just get back on it. So welcome back. Thank you for being here. If you've stuck with me and you're back listening to this and you're excited about it, then I'm excited you're here. Even if there's 3 of you and 2 are my parents, that's good with me. So today I can take you back a little bit. I'm not even really sure where to begin, to be honest, because if I didn't look at the catalog to see where exactly I left off. But I believe it was probably 2023 that I last properly recorded any podcasts. I think I still even have some unreleased episodes with guests that are kind of in the archives that I'm sure are evergreen and timeless and that I could bring back and put out as well. But I think that was the last time that I was really actively podcasting week over week. If you remember, this podcast, the genesis of it was that I was in recovery from my eating disorder. So I struggled with anorexia for probably 12 years, and it reached various points of various degrees of dire. And in 2021, I sort of said, that's enough. I've had enough. It's time. I went very seriously into recovery, and that entire journey is chronicled in the first seasons of this podcast. That is what this podcast was for. It was to talk about recovery from the inside of it while it's happening, rather than as a retrospective. And that's what I did. And I interviewed guests, and I met amazing people, and I had amazing connected conversations. People that I still am connected with have continued to be part of my life. And that's been a huge gift. The accountability that it gave me to continue making change to my own behavior was probably the main benefit to me for the podcast. My only hope I ever had for it was that someone else could hear something that I said, relate to it, and maybe know that they also had the choice to recover, which is something that I still very, very much believe in, that recovery is possible for anybody should they choose it. That has not changed. My opinions and the things that I think about other things in the world maybe have changed since the last time I was podcasting, or at least I've had some more emerging thoughts and opinions about things like mental health and eating disorders and health in general in a very, very big way. So that could come up in the future on the podcast as sort of a thematic shift. But for now, that was sort of the genesis, was recovered from the eating disorder. And so that happened sort of throughout the end of 2021 through 2022 and into the beginnings of 2023, when I really felt I was healed. I was over the eating disorder, but discovered that there was a couple of lingering dragons sort of beneath the surface that still hadn't been fully dealt with, that emerged as a result of an injury that I sustained in the spring of 2023 and then recovered from, and in doing so also learned about rest and movement, and that exercise addiction is very real and that there are ways to overcome it, and often it's that you have to stop doing it cold turkey for a while, whether you want to or not. In my case, I did not want to, but that ended up being a huge blessing. So that's kind of that's the journey. And obviously those episodes are all there. If you're in recovery and anorexia recovery is something that's interesting to you, and how to do it, hearing somebody go through it, I haven't really listened back to any of those episodes. I don't know even like what I would sound like and what my mindset was at that time. It's hard for me to even remember what it was like to have an eating disorder, because I feel so different. But those are all there. And there are still things that I remember, and can recall and know were helpful and know were unhelpful and know what I would tell someone if they were going through it. In the meantime, since I've been recovered, I've also been a peer mentor to some mentees. That's been really an interesting journey, and I can talk about that on maybe a small episode about like what it feels like to try and help somebody from the other side when you've been through it, and because you've seen the other side and you so desperately want someone to be well and you want to help them get there, and what that's like. It's really, really an interesting experience, and it's given me a lot of humility and reflection about sort of my own journey and now where I'm at and things like that. So that's sort of the recovery side of things. My connection to eating disorders and eating disorder land is a lot lighter. I don't talk about it all that much in my real life anymore, just because it's not as relevant. But I just think it would be such a waste to not have more to say about it if there's a need. It seems to me we still have a long way to go in getting people well from eating disorders, because it seems like they are just as prevalent, if not more. And there's no reason that people should have to continue to suffer with this. There genuinely isn't, because you can recover. So it's like knowing that there's a curable illness, and somehow we're not giving people the medicine that we know that we have. So that to me makes it worthwhile to even touch that topic again and get back into this topic again. That said, there's a bunch of other things that have happened in my life since that I think I would be very happy to share some insights about. Things that I've learned, things that I'm going through, experiences that I've had that could help someone else that has either recovered and then is moving on with their life, or never had an eating disorder but is going through other things. I figure I might as well. So that's what we're doing here. I will tell you now sort of what happened after I got well, from the lens of what was my purpose in getting well in the first place, and what did I hold on to. The thing about my life, even with my eating disorder, is that it looked and felt in some ways that there was a lot of success and there was a lot of even stability in my life. I had a lot of what people want out of life in terms of family, relationships, great friends, great job, the ability to travel for work. I had education, I had a home, I had a lot of things. But the eating disorder had a cloud over everything all of the time. And I also knew that there was a huge part of my life that was missing, even in past relationships that I had and managed to have throughout the sort of eating disorder and journey. That was the relationship and the future and having a family and having kids one day. So my eating disorder was going to hold me back from that until I addressed it, period. There's no way to have those things at their fullest, at their optimal, the way that you are meant to have relationship, the way that you are meant to have family and children, is not attainable if you have an eating disorder. And that I will stand 10 toes down on that belief. So as a result, when I decided to go into recovery full on, one of my main driving motivations was I want that life. That future is not available to me if I stay sick. And so I have to get well for that. And because I had so many other things, it was hard to tie the motivation to recover for that. And it's also, anybody that has an eating disorder who's tried recovery, who's in recovery, knows that it's also very difficult to say, oh, well, it's just because I deserve this. It's just because I really want to be well for me. Eventually I did get there. But in the interim, I needed something external and tangible to be I want to fall in love. I want to get married. I want to have kids. Those are the things that I want out of life. And so I need to be well for those. So it was in the back of my mind as this sort of thing I would come back to and think about when I was having a hard time in the recovery journey. So I started dating again in 2023. And that took me a while to kind of get to feeling ready in recovery, really, because you want to have a really firm foundation of who you are, who you want to be, and what your life looks like on your own before really bringing somebody else in. And recovery also creates a very insular experience. And the reason that I didn't really date throughout recovery, in case it's not obvious, is that it's a very full-time thing to recover from an eating disorder. Because you aren't fully recovered yet, you're still weird about food in a lot of ways, and you have a lot of structure until flexibility comes back. So you start with complete rigidity in your eating disorder, and then you sort of use that rigidity, or at least for me, you use that rigidity to sort of create a plan and to stick to a plan that actually really works for recovery itself through things like meal plans and scheduling your eating and mechanical eating and things like that, which I've talked about at length on this podcast. But it doesn't allow for a lot of flow, and that means that dating would be really hard. Also, you're not like emotionally there. You're just very distracted. You need to be focusing where you're focusing, at least in my opinion, until you're at a certain stage of recovery. I just don't think it's conducive to date or be in a relationship at all. And I can talk more about that at another time. But it also creates a very insular experience to be in recovery. So you need to be eating on a schedule, or you're tired after meals, and it's just not conducive. You're just more with yourself and with your care team. You have a lot of appointments. So for me, especially in the real thick of recovery, especially in like the really critical months, it was like me on this couch or on that chaise, like having meals and then like laying down because I was full and tired and sometimes anxious about them, and then going to my therapist and going to my dietitian and going to my group therapy and like all of these things. So it's like, it's all of that to say is that dating before you're ready in eating disorder recovery is just like not something that I was interested in. You also need to wait for your body to physically come back online to even feel the emotions that one would need and want to feel if they were going to pursue a relationship romantically in any way, shape, or form. So you really have to be in a good place before any of that is worth even trying, in my opinion. So it was only when I was much further along in my recovery that I started dating. But I don't even know how to talk about this part because there's so much in it, and a very like wonderful, incredible story. At least I think so. But the punchline is that I'm engaged. So be getting married next year. And I'm also 31 weeks pregnant as of today, which is very exciting. So from 2023 October to current recording, which is August of 2025, basically everything that I ever wanted just happened. Literally every single thing I possibly wanted happened exactly as I wanted it. Sometimes things look different than like you exactly manifest them, but generally speaking, everything happened exactly as I could have possibly dreamed, and way, way, way better. So yeah, I met my now fiance in 2023. I basically moved to London to be together. I was kind of flying back and forth, doing a little bit of long distance for a while, but because my work allows me to work from anywhere, I actually just made the jump over. Was just basically staying there for longer and longer trips, and then was just kind of there. And that's where I've been for the last, for like a year and a half at least, all in, which was part of the reason for the hiatus on the podcast, is that I was there and doing what I wanted to and needed to there. And then about a year ago, talked about, babies, and decided to start along that journey, which I will definitely talk about how fertility and things like that happened, and any worries that I had and any experiences that I had in that journey, like post eating disorder, because it's one of the only times probably in the last couple of years that it even occurred to me to think about my history of an eating disorder. So I can talk about that on an episode for sure. But yeah, got pregnant early this year, got engaged shortly thereafter, and everything just sort of has like fallen into place. Now I've moved back to Canada to stay, buying a house, and waiting for this little baby to come. So those are the life updates as I'm engaged and very pregnant and still very, very much recovered. And that's the only reason that all of the other things that have happened since we last spoke are possible. And I've had an immense amount of gratitude for everything that's happened in between. I still have a lot of disbelief, actually, that this is my life. I still have a lot of disbelief that I'm actually going to have a baby in 9 weeks' time. So that's sort of the life update. The trajectory for the podcast will be either demand-based, if there's any, topics or things that anybody wants to hear about, lay them on me and I'll talk about them. I could do like a short Q&A update episode where it's like things that I don't even think about anymore, but like somebody might be curious about, ask away. But yeah, I'd like to talk about, fertility after anorexia. I'd like to talk about and remind people about just like the choice that you have to recover, what I've observed in myself being a peer mentor, what I've observed in peer mentees and people that have, been in my network that I've tried to help support or have just been in contact with. Because from the other side, you can really clearly see what is missing, not just in a person's life that causes them to continue to struggle to change, but the systems that they find themselves in that make it difficult for them to enact change based on their circumstances. There's some relationship stuff I can talk about without too much detail, because it's not just my life. And baby stuff and pregnancy stuff and like transitioning to new motherhood stuff and career stuff and decision making and how to design your life, how to make health decisions, things that I'm seeing happening in the world that either relate to eating disorders or body image or health in general. Yeah, there's plenty of places that we can go, so I think that's probably what we'll do. My goal, I think, ultimately would be to do a podcast a week for these last 10 weeks of pregnancy, just to kind of just whatever they're about or whatever quality they are, just get them out so that I'm back and practicing. And then, post baby coming, we'll sort of see what the cadence and what that can look like. But I think it would be good to have this back and to doing it again, because I've missed it and I do enjoy it. But I'm gonna leave this here. It's very, very hot, and also because I'm pregnant, I'm like warm all the time. There's a major difference between having anorexia and being pregnant. Is instead of being cold all the time, you're always warm. I am a human incubator at all times, and because it's the summer, it's very warm. So anyways, this has been the first go at doing this. It's probably extremely choppy and I apologize, but if you're here, like, welcome back or welcome, and I just love that you're here. And if it's just like for friends to keep up with what I'm doing, because I've been kind of offline in general, so it might be a good way to catch up. Okay, love you, bye.